to the name of the triune God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I wonder if you believe that we are free. This week we had the opportunity to celebrate a holiday known as Juneteenth. It represents when the last slaves were to find out that they were free. Amen. And I wonder how free they really were. And in turn, I wonder how free we really are. The story is that 2 months after all the slaves were free, there were folks in Texas who had not received the word. And the U.S. military came and finally told them that you are free. But what in the world does freedom mean to a person who has been enslaved? What in the world does freedom mean to you? You are free, but what in the world is one to do with freedom? How do you use it? What does it mean? Does it guarantee happiness, peace of mind? Sometimes I wonder personally how free I am. Who would you say, if I ask you, who is the greatest boxer in your opinion? Okay, a non-heavyweight. You said Muhammad Ali, how about a non-heavyweight? Sugar Ray Leonard is arguably one of the greatest fighters ever. And one of the greatest fights I remember seeing as a young man was with him and Roberto Duran. Roberto Duran was born in 1951, and he was born in utter poverty. They say that when he was 8 years old, he started boxing grown men. He wanted to beat his way out of poverty. He was born in the slums of Panama. You are a gentleman and a scholar. He was born in the slums of Panama. And he wanted to escape slavery. He wanted to escape poverty. It's interesting how, in my mind, I conflate poverty and slavery. It's interesting how, in my mind, that wealth seems like freedom and poverty seems like slavery. Roberto Duran was a successful fighter. They called him the man with hands of stone. He was a middleweight. He was a lighter weight. He went up and down the different weight scales, Roberto Duran. He was fighting his way out of poverty. He was a smaller fighter with a big punch. He had a lot of knockouts. He had of his 70 professional fights, he had 50 knockouts. And this was the man that Sugar Ray Leonard had to fight in June of 1980. Roberto Duran and Sugar Ray had conflicting styles. Sugar Ray Leonard was a lot like Muhammad Ali in that he had really good footwork. He was very technically proficient. He was good at bobbing and weaving. And Roberto Duran was more like a brawler. He would get in close. He would grapple. He would grab. He would twist his opponent around. He had an opportunity to fight Sugar Ray Leonard, and he won. He got the biggest purse you could imagine. He was the world champion, and he had defeated the famous and vaunted Sugar Ray Leonard. When he got back home to Panama, how many people do you think was there to meet him? Give me a number. At the airport, in Panama City, how many people were there to greet him?
1,600.
700,000 people. That's what they say. He was bigger than the president of Panama. He was the most important thing that happened to his people. He got home a millionaire, a celebrity. He had so much money in his pockets, but he probably couldn't even buy himself a drink. The word is that Roberto Duran began to party. He began to celebrate his wealth. Roberto Duran, who fought at around 150, ballooned up to 200 pounds. He partied and ate steaks and drank. He just relaxed and had a good time. He had reached the pinnacle of success. But what did Sugar Ray do? He demanded a rematch in 6 months. Roberto Duran is out there partying, gaining weight, getting fat, enjoying his life. And Sugar Ray Leonard is studying that film, studying Roberto Duran. He hired a sparring partner who could fight just like Roberto Duran. They had a rematch. Roberto Duran did everything he could do to lose his weight, to get back down enough size to fight Sugar Ray. In December of that year, 1980, Sugar Ray Leonard and Roberto Duran had a rematch. I think about the life and times of Roberto Duran and what it means to be free. He fought his way out of poverty to wealth. He was looking to go from some form of slavery to some form of freedom. And I'm thinking about our gospel. I read from the 9th chapter of Matthew. But if you can remember, I read from the 10th chapter of Matthew today. But if you can remember in the 9th chapter of Matthew, we find Jesus performing miracles, healing the sick, and he's overwhelmed. And he calls his disciples. Jesus was liberating people from sin. Folks had been held captive by sin. In the ancient world, people believed that there were people who were other folks who were under curses. And Jesus came in and reversed the curse. He got his 12 disciples, 12 folks that he had been training and teaching. And he converted them from disciples to apostles. A disciple is someone in training. An apostle is someone who is sent out. He sent his apostles into the world to reverse curses and give power to the little people of the world.
Amen.
Before he sent them out, he had to give them a pep talk. He's like, everybody's not going to be happy that you're reversing these curses. Everyone's not going to be happy that you are freeing folks from sin. You're going to get in trouble. Jesus said, I did not come into the world to bring peace. He said, I came into the world to bring a sword. Jesus is saying, I do not want folks to suffer. I do not want people to live in sin and agony for the sake of peace. I am coming into the world to bring a sword. And everybody's not going to like it. Your mother may not like it. Your father may not like it. And happy Father's Day to all the fathers, by the way.
Except you.
Folks may not like it. As a matter of fact, I know they're not going to like you reversing these curses. They're not going to like you giving power to the afflicted. I come into the world like a sword. My brothers and sisters, I come today in this moment like the American soldiers in 1865 on June 19th to declare freedom to the slave. I declare freedom to you. What do you mean? What do you mean freedom? Since my ancestors have gotten to this country, to these shores of what is known as America, my people have been fighting for freedom.
Amen.
And sometimes we don't really know how to fight. Sometimes we believe that buying things, buying a big house is freedom. Buying a big car is freedom. That somehow economic prosperity in and of itself is freedom. Well, you can't be free in a big house and a big car if your mind isn't free. You can't be free unless you really know that you are free. I came here to declare that you are free. If you don't buy another article of clothes, you are free. If you don't buy another house, get another apartment, you are free. If you don't buy another new car, you are free, because your freedom is in your mind. Right now, as we look out into the world and we see a multiplicity of threats on our bodies and our psyches and our economy and our families. Is it the fascists or is it the anti-fascists? Is it the alt-right? Is it the alt-left? Will Trump save us? Will Biden? It doesn't. Those external things will not give you freedom. If you look at the book of Matthew, there are multiple occurrences of the word sword. Jesus started talking about swords when he was to be handed over to the Gentiles. They're going to come with sticks and stones and swords. And then one of his associates pulled out his sword. He denounced swords. Do not pull out your sword. Do not worry about these swords. Do not deal with these people on a physical level. But the question is, why did he talk about he came to bring a sword? We don't have to fight. My brothers and sisters, we don't have to fight. We got to do what we have to do, and we got to move forward. But the fight is not ours. The fight is not a fight of flesh and blood. That's why Jesus denounced people pulling out physical swords. Jesus is the sword. Your life is so beautiful. Your life is so great and so glorious. It is so precious that it is to be enjoyed. I thought about Roberto Duran as I read this scripture, and I thought about the fighter who at 8 years old began fighting grown men, who by 1980 had risen to the pinnacle of boxing elite by defeating Sugar Ray Leonard. And I think about how he celebrated his wealth. He got back in shape for the rematch 6 months later. He got in the ring with Sugar Ray. And Sugar Ray hurt him. And to his defense, Roberto Duran was just drained from having to lose all that weight. Roberto Duran was thinking about worldly things. Sugar Ray was thinking about worldly things. One worldly thing, whipping Roberto Duran. He got into that fight, and he kept getting hit. And Sugar Ray was better than he was 6 months ago. And Roberto Duran wasn't as good as he was 6 months ago. And after the 7th round, in the 8th round, after the 7 rounds, in the beginning of the 8th round, Sugar Ray hit him real good. And Roberto Duran looked at the referee and said, "No more. No mas. No mas. I don't want to fight this guy. No mas." And he quit. He quit fighting. My brothers and sisters, I came here today to let you know that you can quit fighting now. Amen. You can quit worrying about what's going to happen in the future. You can quit the struggle. Be still and know that the Spirit of God is inside of you. The way that Roberto Duran enjoyed his life, I'm too good. I'm a millionaire. That's all he wanted. He wanted respect, he wanted money, he wanted power. He used his fist to get it, and he got it. And in the middle of that fight, he's like, I am too rich to be putting up with this stuff. Why do I have to fight this man? No more. No mas. Somebody listening to this sermon is going to come to the understanding and the realization that they don't have to fight anymore. That the spiritual battle is already won and has been won in the name of Jesus Christ. He will reverse your curses. Do what you have to do, but don't spend any time worrying about it, because you are free already. You've been free from sins and your mistakes and your troubles. You've been placed here in this beautiful garden of earth, and it is to be enjoyed. Nobody knows how many more days we have, how much time we have. But in this time, in this lifetime, enjoy yourself. I don't care what kind of material things that you are surrounded by. Know that you are free. Let your mind be free. Let your heart be free. Know that God is in the background with his sword. his spiritual sword, cutting down your foes left and right. They fall on one side and the other side, and no harm will come to you. Live your life like that. Live your life like you are a free person. All these forces out here, all this negativity out here,